Hey there! I was contacted by my friend Bill. I'm not going to give you Bill's last name. In a nutshell, he said he enjoyed my videos, which I always enjoy hearing, because if people don't enjoy what I do, then I can just quit. But he was an interesting situation because he had a Kyuseido Kakari pen, and he said, I actually have two, do you want one? I said, zippity zappity, why not? I didn't actually say that. I was very honored because they're not inexpensive pens. So it doesn't matter how he ended up with two, but there was something going on. He ended up with two, he only needed one, so he gave me one. And here is the Kyuseido Kakari pen. Now, I have left it, I've played around a lot with it, but I've left it empty so I can show you how it fills up. Hoping that you can somewhat see. Very cool filling system, a bit reminiscent of the Conid. So it has a rod, you engage a seal in the back and then you fill it up. I'll try to show this on video, it's not easy, but I'll try to show. And that's all there's to it. I don't have a box. They typically come with gold nibs. This one comes with a steel nib. Obviously, I'm not complaining. Someone sent me this pen. I'm just saying I can't show you that. That's fine. Really nice steel Jowo nib that I really like, actually. Let's just cover the parts of the pen, see what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and of course, in between, there'll be a writing sample. But before I do anything else, thank you very much, Bill. This is incredibly kind, and I'm very appreciative and always taken aback a bit when people indicate that they like my work that much. And that doesn't mean that everyone should send me free pens, although if you want, you can. But you know what I mean. It's a very kind gesture. And it's very humbling. So I appreciate that a lot. Now, let's look at this pen. Okay then, let's discuss this Kyuseido Kakari FS in titanium. So Kakari actually is a sort of an opening move in Go, and that was meant to symbolize the company's bold move into the world of pens. So I thought that was kind of fun. There are different models available. This particular one you could get in black PVD titanium or silver titanium. Obviously this is the silver titanium. Let me immediately point out, it doesn't come with a clip. It's a Kaweco clip that Bill put on it, but that I think is quite nice. And it actually matches pretty well, but that could be taken off, of course. Again, bear in mind, this is a clipless pen. When you buy it, there's no option to get a clip. You have a lot of different nib options, including stacked nibs. In this case, again, this is a Jowo steel nib. They come with 40 karat gold nibs. And what I think is very interesting is that they have quite an extensive description on their website, which if you're interested, you should absolutely check out and read about the filling system. So the filling system, they say, is based on a patent from 1898 from George K. Means. And basically what it does, and again, Conid has a very similar system, is you have this rod. I'm just going to uncap it. I'll go over the parts, but I think that the filling system here requires a lot of attention. You have this rod, and then here is the piston seal. And the piston seal is actually screwed into the back end of the barrel. So the way you operate this is you take this, you unscrew this cap at the end. Now the rod, sorry, a little farther, the rod will move up. And I'm sorry, it's a little cloudy, it's just condensation. It's actually completely clear material. Now I hope what you'll be able to see, you know what, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna, you can unscrew the section, which is easy for cleaning, although they do say it voids the warranty, but I mean, I'm not really concerned about the warranty. I just want to dry this out on the inside with a tissue, just so that that condensation is gone. You can actually see the pen. Let me just reassemble that. I'm sorry, I'm right here. Okay, so notice these sort of three teeth on that end. On the end of that rod, and then there are clutches, I'm just going to say, in that piston seal. You align them, roll it in, push it down, and now this is more or less connected. I'll come back to that. Now you can unscrew the seal. Can you see that happening? And then once it's unscrewed, it moves up, it moves down, depending on where you started up. Anyway, you get the point. And you fill up your pen. Incredibly tight suction. So basically you do this and it fills up until about there. Farther than a cone it does, I will say that. And the idea they say here is twofold. So they say, first of all, if you don't want to have a full fill, you can disengage this mechanism more easily than in other brands that use something similar, like say Connet. They don't actually call out that brand, but I mean, I think that's one of the brands they're talking about. And you can screw this back into place. And the advantage is, now you have less capacity, less air bubble, less ink burping as the pen gets emptier. And you change the center of balance. So you can put that there. If you say, I don't want it there, now I don't know why anyone would really want that, but I mean, imagine that you say, I only need this much ink. Now with a bit of fiddling, you can disengage that material, sorry, that rod. Again, I don't know why anyone would want to have this little ink, but theoretically. Now, a lot of metal is there, and again, it affects the balance. So they said it's a twofold thing, right? You can determine the amount of ink you actually want with this particular system, and you can sort of fiddle around with where you would like the balance of the pen to be. Now what I'm going to do, and I can't show you this very properly, but I have here some Eldergraph blue ink that Joost Appelboom sent me. I'm going to do a single fill, and I'm going to do a full fill. And again, I know you can't really see this because of the camera angle, but bear with me. That was a single pull. I'm just going to wipe down the section so it's clean. I know it might not be super ideal to do this right before a writing sample, but I've played a lot with the pen. And I can tell you it's a very, very pleasant writer. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. This is how much ink was drawn up in a single go. So that's a lot. Now you need to undo, so I fiddled a bit, undo that clutch. And I should have left the ink open. Okay, we've wasted a couple drops of ink. I know it's terrible, I'm sorry. And you screw this back into place. Sorry. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it because I don't want to waste your time. You can screw that seal back into place in the back. I haven't done that now, so you can see there's a bit of threads left. That's perfectly fine. We are now ready to write, and this is the issue, right? You get a very saturated feed. It's making it much better. Let me just kind of suck some ink out of the feed there with a tissue. That should give a pretty good experience of the writing. Okay, so this looks dreadful. I'm so sorry. Talk about the pen. I've now shown you the filling system in detail. Let's talk about the pen, and then I'll do a writing sample. So a lot of titanium, pointy bit on the finial, but I think it looks quite nice. Cap tapers down. We have this Kaweco clip, but I won't really talk about it because it doesn't really come with the pen, right? But you see it fits pretty well. We have the barrel full of this interesting Eldergraph ink. Turning knob. It's not really a piston, I guess, but it's, well, actually it is, isn't it? So let's call it a piston turning knob. Again, sharp bit at the end there. The cap unscrews, and then we have a titanium section. It's a heavier pen because of all the metal. I think it feels very, very solid, and that's really quite nice. Section tapers down, flares out a little bit, nicely polished is not really the right word, but nicely made here because it's not a sharp edge. Number 6 nib, standard plastic feed, etc. You void your warranty when you unscrew this section, but I don't really care personally, and then you can grease up your piston, do all that kind of stuff. There are indentations under this piston turning knob for what looks like a wrench to disassemble that unit from the other side, but I wasn't able to see if Kyuseido actually sells those. Let's do a writing sample. Oh, and I haven't shown you, I'm sorry, I haven't shown you this pen right next to a Pilot Metropolitan. So it's, I would say it's certainly a larger pen, especially in girth. It's definitely a bit bigger. Okay. Eldergraph ink. Kyuseido Kakari, what was it? FS titanium. This is a medium Jowo steel nib, and this is Eldergraph blue ink. Very pleasant nib, very smooth, and really, again, I sucked some ink out of the feed because I know I just inked it up, but I've played around a lot with it. It's a solid writer. It's not more wet now than it would otherwise be. This is pretty much the writing experience you'd get. One thing to point out, that end of the rod does block off the ink flow at some point. So if you write with it, if you want it a bit wetter, and at some point you'll have to, because there's no more ink in the section, you have to unscrew the end a bit, just like with a Konid or any other sort of pen that has a double reservoir. And as you can see, that might make it a little bit wetter. I don't know if you saw that, but it does. Overall, fairly wet writer, I found. And again, I know it's just inked up, but again, that was my experience. Overall, line variation, there is some to be had. It's not a flex nib, it's not advertised as such, so be very careful. You could squeeze out a little bit. For those who enjoy such a thing, reverse writing is an option. It gets a little bit scratchier, but I felt way worse. You can definitely get away with writing upside down and taking this medium nib to, I would say, a good fine. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about likes and dislikes. What do I like? What do I not like about the Kyuseido Kakari? Yosh! In many ways, it is an outstanding pen. I love the precision that's gone into this. It gives me Konid feelings, not just because of the filling system, because of the titanium. There certainly are parallels between the two companies, but clearly both companies, great eye for detail. Everything is machined really nicely. Tolerances are very tight, so I really like it. I like this design, this sort of, I like to call it high tech. It looks very industrial. It's not for everyone. Some people really prefer the classic sort of black and gold trim pens. I love this kind of design. I really like the looks. I should try to get one of those, was it the Asvine P60, I think, that also has a very Konid type look, but I should try it out. Anyway, lovely pen, great balance with this material that I'm not exactly sure what it is, but with this material and then the titanium on both ends, it feels solid and like a very, very pleasant pen to hold. Like I said, this is a steel Jowo nib, great writer, and I'm sure that if you get it with a gold nib, great writer as well. That at the end of the day is what you buy a pen for, right? How it writes, and it's just great. It's just a lovely, pleasant pen to hold and feel, and I really enjoy that. You can post it if you really want to, and you have a lot of metal near the end. It's really quite heavy. Filling system in many ways is great. I like the filling system. I like the idea. Again, it's a idea reminiscent of the Konid filling system. I'll say two things that I don't like so much. One of my issues with this particular incarnation of the filling system rather than the Konid is that it sort of kind of locks in place, but it also sort of kind of doesn't. And that means that as I was filling it, and maybe this is a matter of you need to gain more experience with it, as I was filling it a couple times, I ended up with something like this, where the seal actually, where the rod and its clutch actually lost contact with the seal. The seal was stuck in the middle of the pen and the clutch was out. Is that a huge issue? No, as I said, it's probably also a matter of gaining more experience with the filling system, because the first time I tried to fill up a Konid, it was also a messy affair. However, the Konit has a seal that actually screws in place onto the rod so it won't accidentally snap off during like mid-filling. Having said that, again, that might be a bit of an experience issue. I do think it's a very, very pleasant filler, and I do really like it. It is a great system, and I'm certainly not complaining. I think it is more user error than anything else. But if I were to pick between the two, at this point in time, I'd pick the Konit simply because, again, the rod locks in place into the piston seal, doesn't accidentally become undone. That's one thing. The other thing is the price is high, 600 US. It's a lot for a pen. Then again, with the way it is machined, with the gold nib, with all that stuff, cool filling system, and they are, I'm not sure if they're limited editions, but they seem to be limited productions where they make a bunch and then they stop. I certainly couldn't see a number on these, so I don't know if it's a limited edition in that regard, but I do think they only make a certain number of them. And maybe they will make them again at a later date. So, having said that, they're not inexpensive. There's no way around that. 600 US for a pen is a lot. And I know it could be a lot worse, but let's be frank, it could also be a lot better. There are cheaper pens out there. What you get for that amount of money, in my mind, is a very well-made pen that works very well. It's an incredibly pleasant pen to use, writes beautifully, and has a really cool filling system. So if you're willing to fork out that money, I also feel you get a lot back. Just like with the Konit, you get a lot back. And I'm sorry that I keep making these comparisons, but in my mind, these are two very similar companies. They make things in limited batches. They're expensive, but what they do incredibly well. So if that's something you're interested in, and you want to spend that money, then I think you will not be disappointed. So there's something to be said for that, right? There's a certain level of pens where you get to a high price, and really what you're buying is a brand name, or you're buying exclusivity. In this case, it's a high price, but you're actually buying high quality. And I think that is, to me, much preferable than buying a fancy brand name. There we have it. I hope this was useful. I say again, a very kind thank you to Bill. I really appreciate this. It's an incredibly generous gift, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. Now, do you think that at some point I should do a fountain pen shootout between this one and the Konit? King size bulk filler, that's all I have. But that's enough, isn't it? That sounded weird. Let me know in the comments. Should I? I appreciate it, and thank you for watching. I'll gladly see you later.